Hey everyone, Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather, along with Tom and Elin. And suspect that Will may jump in here in a few minutes. And thought we would do a little live stream here this evening. Probably not as long as the one we did a couple of days ago. We really walked through a lot of models and stuff like that the other day. And but we're starting to narrow down some of the forecasting. So as we talked about the other night, this is really a journey. This is something that we started way back. It seems like a while ago now with these initial big snow maps. And we've sort of taken this journey now as things have started to narrow down, things have started to come into view with some of the better high res models and giving us a little bit better idea of what we may be facing. So that's more of what we want to talk about tonight. We want to spend our time mostly talking about impacts, potential impacts, and what you can do to prepare. Even though we realize time is getting short on preparations, there still may be just a few things you can do that may help you out in this situation. So guys, I'll just kind of jump into a couple of things that we've been watching just in the past 12 hours or so, and sort of see how this may evolve over the next little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share here. And really, we're not going to do a lot of models. I just want to show you sort of an HRRR illustration of how this may evolve. And then we're going to talk about why, as we were talking right before we came on here, why things may shift even just as the storm moves through that may look a little bit different than this. So this is going to be what the HRRR thinks 8 a.m. Tomorrow looks like, and a little bit of snow starting. All right. So here in Middle Tennessee, thinks the snow may be beginning here in Middle Tennessee. And then as we go through time, this would be about 10 a.m. So heavier snow starting to push into southwestern Middle Tennessee and West Tennessee around Memphis and Jackson. And then 11 a.m. things pick up there on the snowfall. And then at noon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., we're starting to see some more colors come into play. And as we've been talking about over the past few days, you've been seeing all sorts of colors on the maps, and that's different precip types. Okay. So we're not expecting this event to be all snow. In fact, we're expecting multiple precip types and possibly changing back and forth throughout the event. So when we say precipitation types, what are we talking about? Of course, we're all familiar with snow. We know what that does. We know we're pretty familiar with the impacts of snow around here. The other another precip type that we could see that we fairly commonly see around here is going to be sleet. We see sleet around here as well. Well, sleet is just it does not pile up as quickly as snow. It's just ice pellets. And the good thing about sleet, it really generally doesn't pile up on power lines and trees. It really is not as much of a tree and power line problem with sleet. Um, so I'm kind of hoping for a lot of sleet, to be honest with you. The other precip type that we're watching here is what's in red, this reddish orange color down here in southern Middle Tennessee that we'll see moves up into Middle Tennessee towards us. That is freezing rain. And it's been a while since we've had a bad freezing rain event here. I almost said a good. There is no good freezing rain. Freezing rain is liquid rain that falls and then freezes on everything. All right. So trees, power lines, mailboxes, cars, roads, all the surfaces are going to be below freezing, and that liquid rain falls and just freezes to that. All right. So uh, what the HRRR shows here. Let me zoom out just a little bit so we can get a better view as we go through time. This is 4, 5, 6, and we can start seeing that freezing rain kind of inching up into here. 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Saturday, 10 p.m. Saturday, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. on Sunday, and then 4 a.m. Sunday, 5 a.m. Sunday, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then what you notice is there is the green there is getting a little bit close. Now, this may not look exactly like this, okay, as this comes through on radar, but there's a possibility that even some regular plain old rain, as temperatures might get just barely above freezing at the surface, some regular old rain may fall as well, but we don't think that'll be long lasting. All right. So this is 11 a.m. This is 12 noon on Sunday, still freezing rain according to the HRRR in Nashville. And that's as far out as the HRRR, the last run of the HRRR runs there to 12 noon on Sunday. We are pretty convinced this is going to be a mess. Okay. So what we have to do is we need to prepare ourselves mentally, as we said the other day, for this not to be predominantly a snow event, but for this to be an event where we would have multiple different types of impacts. All right. So snow, yes, we might initially have some snow pile up. It may come down pretty hard for a while and we get some snow. But when these precipitation types start transitioning, and really we're talking about a degree or two aloft makes the difference. All right. So if you sort of take a view of the atmosphere here, and here's say your 32-degree line. This is like a graph showing the temperature up through the atmosphere. Okay. So like it's cold up here, and then as you come down, all of a sudden there's a layer of air, about a mile off the ground. There's a layer of air that goes above freezing. Okay. We call that a warm nose. So that air goes above freezing, that snow melts or partially melts, and then it gets below freezing again before it hits the surface, and it's below freezing down here. Okay, that would be sleet. Well, a very, very similar profile in the atmosphere causes freezing rain. It doesn't take a big change to cause freezing rain. That warm nose is just a little bit bigger, which means that snow melts all the way into liquid before it hits the surface instead of just partially and turns into sleet. All right. So we're talking about a razor thin forecast here, where a couple of degrees aloft makes the difference between a pretty intense ice storm around here and sleet. So that's really our discussion tonight, guys, is impacts that would come from freezing rain, because this is a possibility. And it's been a while, or maybe you've moved here and you have no idea what we're talking about when we talk about freezing rain. So one thing I want to show you here before we start talking about specific preparation ideas is I want to show you back in 2021 over in the plateau. They had a freezing rain event over there that one of these pictures here shows. This was about 3/4 of an inch of ice accumulation on a little tree branch here. So that's about 1/2 an inch, and that's about 3/4. So just under 3/4 of an inch of ice accumulation there. And this is the kind of stuff that freezing rain does. Okay, so if you get enough of it, this is the kind of effects that you get. All right, now some of us that have been around Nashville a while, something like this looks reminiscent of what we had back in 1994, the night of January 10th, 1994. We're not saying that that's what this event is going to be like, but some of you have asked questions about 1994 and said, hey, how much ice did we have then? From the best we can tell, we had about an inch of ice accumulation that night in 1994 that caused all the problems. So that's best we can tell, was about an inch. And many of you that have been around a while remember that. So just wanted to give you an idea of what you're like, well, what does freezing rain do? This is the kind of stuff it does. It sticks to everything and really weighs the trees and power lines down. And that's where you get your problems. So Tom, walk us through a little bit about how these things can change. So as we go through this event tomorrow, what is it we can expect as far as these precip types transitioning back and forth, and how big of a difference does it make if one stays longer than the other? All that, give us some meteorology here on what we're looking at.
Well, I think the first thing that jumps out to me is how cold the Arctic air mass that's building into Middle Tennessee is right now. And that's really been the main player all along. We've been talking about that for a couple of days. It's 21 degrees in Hopkinsville. It's 12 degrees in Evansville. And that air mass is heading straight for us. So It's going to get real cold tonight, stay cold most of the day tomorrow, very cold, well below freezing, even in the teens for a lot of the area. So that's going to set the stage. It's going to be an entrenched, very cold air mass that initially is going to yield snow as the moisture begins to spread up and over the mid-state. You can see there on the Weather Services graphic, I think, a 3 to 4 inch snow, and there'll be sleet with that. If it's snow and sleet, you really can't tell the difference on the ground, what's snow and what's sleet. So that could be a combination of snow and sleet in terms of frozen precipitation. So I think what we're most concerned with is the freezing precipitation, and that's what we're really focused on. And I think what's going to happen, a little area of low pressure is going to move just south of us or over far southern parts of Middle Tennessee. And it's going to create a little nose of warm air. And that nose of warm air will be at the surface. And by warm, I mean around freezing or maybe a degree or two above freezing. And Andrew showed that earlier in the presentation. That's going to extend up 4, 5, 6,000 feet, that warm nose. And so you're going to have a very, very tight gradient from southeast to northwest or east to west, where temperatures go from the lower, even maybe middle 30s to the upper teens over, in some cases, a county. So that gradient makes it really difficult to pinpoint exactly the types of precipitation they're going to fall, because at some point it's going to be too cold for freezing rain, and that's sleet. And at some point it's going to be too warm for freezing rain, and that'll be the issues further east. And trying to nail down that 30 or 40 mile wide transition zone, I think we're getting a much better handle that it's going to be right across Middle Tennessee. But nailing down the details of it are still going to have to be nowcast a little bit. We're just going to have to see how things behave as the precipitation starts to spread in. But it's going to go downhill fast in terms of freezing rain potential during the evening tomorrow into the overnight. That's really the time to watch.
Yeah, that's really good. It's helpful to get graphics like this from the Weather Service and to sort of help us visualize, okay, help us understand a little bit about what we're expecting here. And the current forecast is for freezing rain accumulations, quarter to a half inch, and a half inch in Nashville, maybe a little bit more. But as Tom is saying, it wouldn't shock me if it went higher or lower, just because that is such a delicate, razor thin line between freezing rain and sleet, and it will make all the difference. So it's going to be interesting to see. In fact, they circled this area you see there, the greatest uncertainty in ice totals. That's exactly why. There's very little margin there for those different precip types. So that's what we're looking at as far as forecast goes. And I really appreciate Elon. I'll give a shout out to Elon here just a minute. He's been in the Weather Service briefings. He's been writing. He's been responding when the website gets tanked because of traffic. He's been in there. So we've made a few changes to the website. If you notice, actually, I'll mention this. We went back to an older theme of the website, where it handles the traffic a lot better. Actually, doesn't use nearly as much bandwidth, and still had a few hiccups today. But man, we love that y'all are engaged. That's what it tells us. You're engaged to the forecast, and you're not turning your back on this thing. And I think that's a good call. And really appreciate y'all's preparations that you're making by reading the forecast. Will, let's talk a little bit about preparations for this thing. I think one of the big takeaways from this forecast is one thing, going back to 1994. And again, we're not comparing this, saying that this event's going to be 1994 all over again. But for those of you that have asked and are curious about it, one of the differences in this event and that event is that event, the days gradually got warmer after the event. So after the ice storm hit, after the trees came down, power infrastructure was a complete mess. The temperatures gradually got warmer basically each day after that event. This is not that. In fact, this is about as far away from that as you can get. Temperatures will drop hard after this event, and as we go through it. So, Will, what are we talking about as far as preparations here?
Yeah.
What do you think?
First of all, can you hear me okay? I joined late. I didn't get to test out.
Yeah, I got you. Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah. So, impacts. The freezing rain, like we saw in that picture that Andrew showed a little while ago, 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain on a tree limb is absolutely something that can do just that, bring those trees down. Those tree limbs falling on power lines, even if they don't bring the power line all the way down to the ground and just ground it out or blow a transformer, that means power outages for that immediate area. We talked earlier in the week about our interface with NES and Middle Tennessee Electric Cooperative. We've spent time with both of those organizations over the last couple of months, and believe me, they are ready. They know what they're doing. NES is very much prepared, very much aware. Middle Tennessee Electric is very much prepared, very much aware of what's going on, and will work very hard night and day to restore power if that power goes out. So what we're really interested in hearing from reports is, do we have ice accumulation or accretion occurring on surfaces at the ground, right? And how much ice is building up. So just like you saw that picture earlier of a little twig encased in a tube of ice, right? This one, that's what we're looking for. That would be a very helpful report for us to see, is that a 1/4 inch? Is it a 1/2 inch? Is it 3/4 of an inch? So that we can then communicate that message of what we think is going to happen and give those reports to the Weather Service. If it does turn out being a mostly ice solution, then yeah, expect not to move for quite a while, because unlike that storm in '94, as you mentioned, our temps are not going to go up for a while. It's going to be locked up, frozen around here for a while, at least until I haven't looked at the last grids, but I don't think we come above freezing until like maybe, is it Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that, Elon?
Yeah, at least not until then.
Yeah. So that's why when we've talked, what we've talked about and what Elon did a good job laying out in the blog today is, you got to be prepared. You need to have some type of backup power source, backup heat source, something that will allow you to stay, at least warm inside your home if you do lose power. So you can see here, today is 23. So
Good night. That is brutal.
yeah, I mean, look at that. All right, look at Tuesday of next week, -1 for an overnight low. That in and of itself would be a story that we would cover. But if you compound that with ice hanging everywhere, and that ice not falling off those trees or melting, we're in for a pretty rough ride on the roads and related to our utilities. So that's why we're paying so much attention to what that precipitation type is, because it really does make a big difference. 8 inches of fluffy snow isn't anything compared to 1/2 inch of ice on power lines.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Will, and very helpful. A couple of things that I'll mention here, and again, it's not to frighten anyone. It's not to make you, it's kind of like those tornado events that we cover, where we're not trying to scare you, but we want you to be prepared and understand this situation. And one of those things I'll mention is, it's we don't often say this, but you need to have a way to keep yourself warm in temperatures like this. If your power goes out, uh, source the blankets in your house. Find out, figure out where the blankets are. Just kind of know that what kind of situation you might be dealing with if your power is out and your temperature goes down below zero or around zero. A couple of things I'll mention with that. I was out today and saw a lot of people filling up portable gas cans, assuming generators are in play at their house. Couple things with generators. That's great. Glad you got a generator if you've got one. But a couple things to remember there. Carbon monoxide's a big problem. Do not run that thing in the garage. Have it outside. And secondly, the other big thing is definitely don't have that thing still backfeeding to the grid if you're running a generator. So if you're running to a generator, make sure that your main breaker's off, whatever it is, whatever the setup is at your house that isolates that generator running from the power grid. Because if what happens is that generator will feed power actually back through your transformer at the pole, step that up to whatever voltage it is that your utility uses, and sends that back out over the lines, and the utility workers cannot work on that. All right. So they cannot work on those things if they are lit up by somebody's generator. So you've got to make sure that a generator is isolated from your meter and utility connection if you are going to use a generator. So anyway, just a couple of things to remember there, and we'll cover that more if this becomes more of an issue. Of course, we'll be sharing tips and that kind of thing. But just want you to be thinking about that kind of stuff ahead of time. Just kind of getting yourself in a place where you can kind of think through your plan. If we don't get above freezing, good night. If we don't get above freezing for quite some time. Hey, what questions do we have? I need to pull up the chat here and just kind of see what questions we've got. Anybody seen any we need to answer?
No, I was hearing a lot of concern about
Yeah.
the potential coming in. So I think it's people are taking it seriously. You can see a lot of that. In the comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of shout outs to Elon too. So that's always good.
Yeah.
I will
always
add,
shout out to Elon.
I will add the people talking about if it rains, will it help melt the freezing rain snow?
On the
and all that
back
stuff?
end. Yeah. That wraparound rain.
Yeah, but I also don't want people. The only difference between freezing rain and rain is the temperature at the surface itself. So when freezing rain occurs, it'll appear like it's just raining as normal until it hits the ground and freezes on contact. So don't get too caught off guard if you look outside and you just see rain, you think, oh, it's just raining. That's when the problems start happening, when it starts hitting the ground and then freezing there.
And an interesting to add on to that, Elon, an interesting thing is that freezing rain can occur with an air temperature above freezing if the ground surface or the elevated surfaces are still below freezing. So I've seen that happen before where you're getting isocruel even though it's 33 degrees. So especially that's why I mentioned before how cold this air is coming in. So we're going to be in the teens tomorrow. I saw some questions about salt and the salt on the roadways. The snow that's going to fall, which as we showed, is going to begin in the morning tomorrow, anywhere from daybreak to mid-morning. Salt's not going to be real effective tomorrow, and we're not going to have a good sun angle to help get the roads clear either. So salt doesn't work real well with temperatures in the upper teens and lower 20s. It really is really made for slightly higher temperatures. So I'm not going to get a lot of relief from that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, the best case really is if we can get some sun early next week and help melt and potentially dry some of the very, very major roads, thinking interstates or something. Because salt is just it's not going to do it Monday and Tuesday with those temps at night and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, guys. It's been a while since we've done one of these events.
Yeah, someone's asking a question about the Preds game. I saw that the game is at 12:30 tomorrow, so it'll probably be snowing when the game starts, and the roads will probably be pretty bad when the game ends. So prepare for that if you're going to the game, or maybe decide to stick at home and watch it on TV.
The thing about hockey fans is this is their element, dude. Like they're like, let's go to the game, man. So this is what they do.
Yeah, and they're playing a team from Utah that, snow. This happens all the time in Utah.
Somebody asked about the HRRR ice accumulation amount. Yeah, it somebody was saying it's showing close to an inch. It's showing 85 hundredths of an inch, but again, there's going to be a lot of variables in play, and so if it goes, if we spend a lot of time in sleet territory, that's gonna help knock down the ice accretion totals. So that's why I was saying early on, I'm at this point, I'm kind of just rooting for a bunch of sleet, to be honest with you.
So we just got a message that the Preds game was postponed tomorrow. So I can't independently verify that, but a trusted source just sent me that message. So
cool.
A thing to think about again as we look to these ice totals, a half inch to 3/4 inch, which is within the realm of possibility. Certainly, it's a likely range that the Weather Service is highlighting, as Andrew's showing there. That's going to cause power outages. It could be of varying severity. You never really know how that's going to go down, but that's going to cause outages. And this is not like a thunderstorm outage where it's going to be back on soon. So if you lose power, I think hopefully it'll come back quickly, but plan on it being out for a while, longer than you're normally used to with a thunderstorm kind of outage, a lightning caused outage. It's going to be tough work for the crews. It's going to be dangerous work for the crews that are out there trying to make repairs and get the service back on. So if you do lose power, that's really time to think about, hey, if this lasts for a couple days, what am I going to do? That's where you have to think beyond just getting through today, because it might be, in other ice storms that have happened around the country, multi-day outages are not uncommon with half inch to 3/4 inch ice if that happens. So just keep that in mind. Two
things I'm going to say here. One is an answer to a question, and the other piggybacks off what Tom said. I'm going to piggyback off Tom first. I have a little bit of a concern that the tree effects might be exacerbated because of the fact that we have a lot of dead ash trees around here right now with the emerald ash borer. If y'all saw, if you looked at the hillsides, I'm in Williamson County, but you look at the hillsides in Williamson County before the leaves fell, there's a lot of trees out there that didn't have leaves on them that had died. And so that's a concern of mine, is that, all it takes is one of those big trees coming down across a line, and you've got maybe a problem you wouldn't have had otherwise, had that tree been stronger. So I have a little bit of a concern for that. We're just going to have to see how that plays out. But that's why I tend to lean more on the side of let's prepare and think about this ahead of time before it gets here.
And real quick to build on that, Andrew, if you have a chance, if you park your car on the street or in a carport out back, if you can move it to a location that's not directly under a tree, you'll have no regrets if you do that. People that
depends on the car, really.
Previous ice storms will tell you, if you park under a tree or under a large limb, you're adding to the chance that something bad's going to happen to your car. So
to answer a question, that's a great point, Tom. To answer a question here, somebody said, what about the big snow totals that the GFS was showing and still continues to show? Something about the GFS, you got a couple of these models that we've been watching for quite a while now in this event. And the reason is they're long-term models. They're long-range models. Those models are very low resolution. If you were to take the smoothing effect off of the model, that makes it look all nice and smooth, and the gradients and all that, you would see big blocks, of data. You'd see giant pixels. The GFS and the Euro, those long-term models are not made to be able to resolve the minute little details that this storm is going to offer. So you can't, I can't remember what the resolution is, but I mean, we're talking like a county big on that resolution. There's no way that the GFS can resolve that in a useful way. So that's why we have to, and it's one reason why we were waiting until we got the HRRR, a couple of the other real high resolution models, because they can do a little better job at really drilling down much higher resolution and helping us understand a little better what we're dealing with. So at this point, when you're drawing a snow line and a freezing rain line or sleet line, the GFS is probably one of the last models I would use to actually get down to where exactly that line's going to be. So hope that helps understand a little bit about how that works. Any other questions there? Is Franklin or Brentwood under an ice storm warning? No, not yet. and may not be. We're just going to have to see. So the Weather Service opted not to extend the ice storm warning to the Northeast. Right now, the ice storm warning is confined to the to southwestern Middle Tennessee. So the areas in purple there to our southwest. All right, so Lawrenceburg, so Giles County, Lewis County, that area down there, southwestern Middle Tennessee has the ice storm warning. Could that be extended up to the Northeast? Absolutely, absolutely. But that's where it sits at the moment. But that could be extended up to the Northeast toward us if things get a little bit more clear.
They might actually just wait until the snow is over and then transition it. So there's no confusion there between the winter storm and the ice storm. And the Weather Service has been messaging significant impacts from ice in addition to the snow we're going to get during the day on Saturday. So
yeah,
I don't think
right.
the lack of an ice storm lack of an ice storm warning means we're not going to get an ice storm. It's just it's kind of communicated through the winter storm warning.
Yeah,
and
so
that's
in the
why we're hitting
text
it so
there,
hard.
yeah, and the text there they cover that, so it's good.
Someone mentioned about water. Other power outage issues in other cities have had some water interruption. I know we have a very reliable water system here, and they have backups and redundancies, but it has happened before. I'm going to fill our bathtub up tomorrow evening before I go to bed. So I think if the water goes out, it'd be nice to have a water supply to flush your toilets, have plenty of drinking water around. Those are simple things that people can do to, the next day, if it doesn't work out, you just pull a plug and the tub drains. So it's something that you can do that I'm going to do just in case the water supply is interrupted.
Yeah, it's a good idea, Tom. And you've still got some time, like tomorrow morning. As the snow begins, things are still going to be pretty much okay, right? After an hour or so of snowfall, maybe not. But if you've got to get out in the morning and run an errand, pick up medicine, buy a case of water, whatever it is, you'll probably have time to do that tomorrow morning. I saw a number of questions come across about what if you don't have a backup heat supply or a backup, power supply, et cetera. Lots of different creative things that are very inexpensive that you can do. Saw somebody with a terracotta pot with a candle under it, and that heats up that clay and puts out actually a pretty decent amount of heat. But whatever you do to try to stay warm, make sure you're doing it safely. Like Andrew mentioned earlier, make sure that you're not going to have a problem with carbon monoxide or storing gasoline inside, stuff like that. I also saw some questions come across about a sledding forecast. I know my kids are very interested in the sledding forecast as well.
I've hardly even thought about that.
Yeah. If it's snow, then freezing rain, or snow, then sleet, then freezing rain, can make that surface pretty slippery. Those sleds will go pretty well. I think it will be sleddable as long as we get enough of a snow base at the beginning.
Don't forget what happened to Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation on the motor sled there.
Let me add, be careful sledding. I was near a very, very serious injury of a high school kid last year, dealing with sledding. Hey, have fun out there. That's great. No problem at all. I'm for it. But just be careful and realize that these roads are going to be bad. And if you get injured or need help, it's going to be difficult. Just be careful. Please be careful. Hey, somebody mentioned to drip your exterior wall faucets. No. Do not drip your exterior wall faucets. Many of those are frost-proof in newer structures.
No, you mean spigots that are outside on the outside of the house.
Okay, that's what they mean.
That's on an exterior wall.
Yes,
inside your house.
Drip your faucets. That's great. I thought they were talking about
the outside ones.
The wall faucets outside.
Don't do that. Big problem.
No, that's a big problem. Don't do that. Okay. I'll let y'all.
Oh, and somebody said, if your kids are sledding, put a helmet on them.
It's great.
Yeah. Great advice.
Absolutely.
There's been a
I'm telling
lot
you.
of questions about the timeline, so I thought I'd run through that one more time,
Yeah.
and you guys jump in if you
And
need
I've
to
got that
clarify.
weather service graphic too, if that helps
Yeah,
at all. I don't know if it will, but let's see here. I don't know if that's
yeah.
helpful
So,
at
so the
all.
precip for all of us, I think, is going to start as snow, light snow, getting a little heavier. It might snow longer in Davidson than Williamson, but it's going to snow for a few hours. Certainly enough to lay down an inch, two, locally 3, and then I think we'll see sleet in the afternoon. A lot of sleet, maybe a little bit of freezing rain, some snow still. That transition to sleet will happen through the afternoon into the evening. And it's really the mid to late evening through the early morning hours that the freezing rain threat exists. So I think that's really where but our main concern is, and that freezing rain threat is going to continue into the morning on Sunday, and then gradually transition back to more frozen precipitation as that cold air sweeps back in. So it's going to be the duration of that freezing rain. The less time it lasts, Saturday evening into Sunday morning, the lower the impacts are going to be. It's going to where there's freezing rain, it's going to come down pretty hard. It might accumulate at 1/10 of an inch an hour for a few hours. That's a lot of ice accumulation. So that's really going to make the determination on the power outages. So I think the greatest risk for power outages will start in the evening tomorrow and then go into Sunday morning. So that's really the prime time. So if your power goes out Saturday night, Sunday morning, and doesn't come right back on, plan on it being out for a little while and think about what you're going to do to keep you, your family, your pets safe, and have a plan for that. So not time to panic. It's probably not going to be that bad, but think about what you're going to do if it is that bad. That's what I'm doing for sure.
What do we say? Prepared, not scared. That applies to winter weather too, doesn't
Absolutely.
It does. Especially ice.
Especially ice. Yeah. So Sunday afternoon, we think this stuff will start to taper off. Snow tapers off Sunday evening, and then we're just, and then we just, and then we hunker down for the cold, the more cold. So,
Somebody just asked, should we have honestly evacuated? I mean, where? There's nowhere north or south of us within a 6-hour drive that is not going to be impacted.
I think there's still a couple flights to Miami tonight at BNA. That'd be nice.
Be great. It'd be great.
Well, what do you want to take this over to socials? Answer questions there.
I think so.
Okay. So here's kind
let's
of
talk about our plan for tomorrow too.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. I think we'll be up, we'll be around. This is we're here for the duration. We call it being saddled. So that's what we call it in our text to each other. We're all saddled for the duration of this. Elin, you're down in Mississippi, man. You can have even a little bit more freezing rain than we have up here, huh?
Yeah, we'll see. I think the expected totals here have come down a little bit, but we're still looking at a little shot. They already canceled classes on Monday, so I'll take it.
That's all that matters. Well, y'all be safe down there. But yeah, we're saddled. We're here, and we'll keep an eye on things as they come in. We're gonna try not to just fire hose you, just drink it from a fire hose of information. But we'll try to keep what we're posting pertinent and just keep it on point for what you need to know or any changes. So, okay, guys, let's end this, and we'll go over to Twitter, answer questions there, and other social media channels as we can. Elin will be writing another blog tomorrow with updates there. And let me put in a plug that I know some of y'all had some website issues when you have hundreds of thousands of people clicking that link at the exact same time. It takes a minute for the bandwidth to ramp up. So we have the bandwidth there, but it just takes it a minute to realize that it needs to ramp up and go. A way to save all of that.
Luke says hit refresh as fast as you can. And that, no, I'm just kidding.
No, that's bad advice. But if you have any, if you want to save that issue and still get the blog when it comes out, subscribe on the blog to the email version. So as soon as Elin hits publish to the website, it shoots the blog to your email address. So you can subscribe to that on our website, and you can get the blog via email, and that may take care of some of those issues if you run into that. So otherwise, we'll be around, and we will be staying in touch, guys. All right. Be safe, be warm, be careful, and we'll get through all this.